Hello, I'm Robert Kelly, and today on Record All Monsters, Godzilla vs. Gigan. Just play the hits, please.
Well, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, lights out. Tape must be finished. Now what? We'll have to change the computer program. Change plan number 3 to number 6, right?
We're safe enough. No human being can understand that.
The monsters on Monster Island can understand it.
Something funny going on. You better check. Oh, no. Hurry up.
The fallout from Godzilla vs. Hedorah was there. Depending on who you ask, Tomoyuki Tanaka either hated it or thought it was fine and hated its low box office attendance. In special effects director Teruyushi Nakano's telling of events, Tanaka was so upset he fired Yoshimitsu Banno, that film's director, on the spot, shouting, "You've ruined Godzilla," and telling him that he'd never work at Toho again. None of that happened, according to Banno, and since he continued to work at Toho as a writer, I think his story holds a little more weight. Either way, Banno was out as the new hope of the Godzilla series. Tanaka, in noticing Godzilla vs. Hedorah's low attendance at the Summer Champion Festival in 1971, noticed that the reissues of Invasion of Astro Monster and Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, at the Spring and Winter Festivals did extremely well, bringing in more than twice Hedorah's attendance each. Tanaka, ever the visionary, noticed the common denominator was Godzilla's most popular foe, King Ghidorah, last seen being curb-stomped by 10 other kaiju in 1968's Destroy All Monsters, which had taken place in the impossibly far-off year of 1999. So he decided to have his two favorite screenwriters for the series each pitch a return for the Golden Terror from outer space. We know a little bit about Shinichi Sekizawa, whose script entitled The Return of Ghidorah won out, with some changes to the monster cast, so let's take a look at Tanaka's other writer, who I personally like to call his left hand, Takashi Kimura. If Sekizawa was a dog, bright, playful, and full of optimism, Kimura, born Kaoru Mabuchi, was a cat, secretive, cynical, and brilliant. His credits as writer or co-writer in our little world of gods and monsters include Rodan, the Mysterians, the H-Man, the Human Vapor, Gorath, Matango, Frankenstein Conquers the World, War of the Gargantuas, King Kong Escapes, Destroy All Monsters, and a co-writer on the previous Godzilla movie. That list includes some of the best and bleakest in kaiju movies, and you can see his more contemplative streak compared to Sekizawa's more exuberant approach. Sekizawa wrote Mothra. Kimura wrote Matango. That should tell you everything if you've seen both of those movies. Tanaka also sought proven talent for the director's chair, turning to Jun Fukuda to help helm the next picture since Ishiro Honda had retired. The score would be made up of recycled Akira Ifukube cues from the Toho library in order to save money, with the only original music for the film being the Godzilla March, or Ganbare Bokura no Gojira, which is a real banger, as the kids say. Do the kids still say that? This film was meant to be a return to the mid-60s glory days of Toho's science fiction films, much like Space Amoeba, but budget concerns kept scaling things back. 3 villainous monsters became 2, 4 heroic monsters became 2, and most stingingly of all, roughly 7 minutes of the film's runtime, all of them effect shots, were stock footage from previous Toho sci-fi epics. With the belt tightened to its very last notch, effects director Teruyushi Nakano was understandably upset. He said of the use of stock footage, "It hurt me when I had to reuse those scenes. But there was no other way. We did not have the time or the money to film new scenes." 2 notable displays of the budget constraints include material visibly falling off the Godzilla suit during fight sequences, and King Ghidorah's strange immobility while in flight. It took 24 wires to operate the suit, and the effects department did not have the manpower to work him at full capacity. All the cost-cutting paid off, though. Godzilla vs. Gigan put more than double the butts and seats that Godzilla vs. Hedorah or Godzilla's Revenge had. Before we move on to our next segment, we should really stop and appreciate Haruo Nakajima, who makes his 12th and final appearance as Godzilla in this film. He had first portrayed the character in 1954 at just 25 years old. 18 years later, the 43-year-old stuntman hung up his rubber monster suit and moseyed off into the sunset. As he said in an interview in 2008 with August Ragone and Brett Homernick, "It was the last movie, but I did about 28 kaiju movies in total. And I made 10 Ultra Series episodes. It was my best career. Completing the last movie, I felt I had done what I wanted to do. So I have no regrets." Nakajima passed away in 2017, leaving behind a legacy no one can compete with, having played both Godzilla and King Kong, the 2 most iconic monsters of all time, as well as helping to invent a new acting style and genre of science fiction. His work is monumental, and the closing theme from his song says it best.
"行くぞどこでも平和のためだ」「広い世界を駆け巡り」「目指すは悪い怪獣だ」「でっかい体に可愛い目玉」「明日も戦う僕らのゴジラ」「頑張れ頑張れ僕らのゴジラ」「頑張れ頑張れ僕らのゴジラ」
Hello, I'm Robert Kelly. Welcome back to Record All Monsters. We're here with good friends of the show. First of all, wife and producer Courtney.
Hey.
And we have John Margheim.
Hello.
Who you may, if you have our Patreon, know from I Never Twinsed a Single Peak.
That's me.
And his 2 previous appearances on this show.
Mm-hmm.
And Austin Douglas Ford.
How's it going?
Who has also been on this show, and I Never Twinsed a Single Peak. Austin, do you still use the Forebear handle?
I do not. I've moved over to just using my name, Austin Ford, or Austin Ford Games is now my Twitter handle.
Because I was trying to remember how to spell it, and I couldn't find it.
That's why we changed it.
That's the reason it went away. So
good. I might edit that out.
But no, I think it's good. Leave it in.
All right. So we just watched Godzilla vs. Gigan. And this is one I grew up with and have seen approximately 100 times. And so we have two perspectives I wanted to get with our two special guests here. John, you also kind of grew up with this movie?
Mm-hmm.
And Austin has only seen the Japanese monster movies I've shown him.
Yeah, I think that's mostly true.
So, John, can I get your general take first?
Yeah, so, Gigan, I cannot remember where I saw Gigan first, if it was this movie, or the other Gigan movie, in my childhood, because they sold Godzilla VHSs at the dollar store. And so picked that up, like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, like all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And so part of the reason that Robert has told me that I'm on this episode is because his Gigan figurine resonated so deeply with me, because I'm like, I know this dude. He has a buzzsaw in his belly, and hook hands, and laser eyes.
So cool.
He's a perfectly built weapon. I could not remember if I'd seen this before I started watching it, but about 15 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I know the twist. I remember all of this now. And it's great. It's great. It's funny because I was watching it on YouTube.
Yes.
And was kind of like scrolling through some of the comments during it. And I did not realize, like, some people have issues with the pacing on this movie, which it's kind of funny to me because it actually, like, it's got a good clip. There's some issues which I think when we dig deeper into the movie we can talk about. But, like, it delivers. Like, it does all the classic sort of, like, monster movie sort of things. And, you know, then breaks it up with the other story, the B-plot going on during it. But it's great. And, I mean, I think, like, the entrance of, like, King Ghidorah and Gigan is, like...
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, to, like, not go too deep into, like, TikTok language, it's iconic. But it's super good. Like, the music rules, like, the weird multiple exploding effect behind Gigan.
Oh my God.
And then they just do loop-de-loops for no reason.
These are all things I commented on while we were watching it.
It rules. No, it's, like, the soundtrack rules, but if you put, like, metal behind it, it would be very metal. It's super good. It's like Deathclaw. But
if Godzilla vs. Gigan was made in 2007, and then you put like Linkin Park at the end of that scene,
Puff Daddy and that one guy from that one rock band that everybody likes, I guess.
So I need to comment on that.
Yeah.
In 2004, they made a film, Godzilla Final Wars, which featured a rematch of Godzilla and Gigan.
Ooh, I have not seen that.
It is very long, very dumb, and I love it.
Naturally.
But
It's so long.
they have a little bit of, I think you would, are they pop punk or new metal? I don't know anything.
It's okay.
Some 41 has a song in there.
They are definitely pop punk.
Yeah.
Is it In Too Deep?
I don't remember.
Only.
All I remember is that there's a line in the song that says, "Supersize our tragedy."
Oh my lord. That's a deep cut.
Yeah, man.
Because that's
like early.
hit my brain somewhere.
And the music is all done by Keith Emerson on like a Casio of Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
That's what I was about to ask. My dad loves Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
And he did the score for that. And,
I bet that's amazing.
And it's basically him at a Casio.
Yeah.
It's this movie should have been made 20 years before it was made.
So
2004.
We're all to blame. Some 41.
Yes, that's the one.
Like Green Day phase
I
or
know.
whatever, where they're trying to do serious
And
music
it's-
like Green Day.
It's like it's in the middle of a fight with the American Godzilla who makes a cameo.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Amazing.
So, Austin, what were your opening thoughts?
I mean,
of the second?
I find such like childlike joy in these movies. which I think is definitely some of the intentionality behind like the simplicity of their effects and everything. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some like very solid effects work going into this. Like,
the miniatures in this movie are
absolutely
great.
Like one of the first things you see is a miniature of like them working on the children's
world.
Yeah, thank you. And then it cuts immediately to like two guys in a boardroom talking in front of a miniature of Children's World, and like I cackled at that for 5 minutes. I was like, they made 2 versions of the miniatures for this.
I didn't catch that, but God, that's a good catch.
Oh, dude, like it was everything like that. I felt like every 5 minutes there was a new thing for me to like want to pause the movie and just like scream about. And like John said, like the B plot is kind of just what it is, but as the story progresses and as Godzilla and the other monsters get introduced, it really is a fun like fighting kaiju movie. Like you said at the beginning, I haven't really seen a ton of these. For the most part, it's mainly been Mothra and then Mothra versus Godzilla. This might be my favorite one of the 3 that I've seen.
I'm so glad to hear that.
It's a good one. It's a super good one.
I'm so glad to hear that from both of y'all. And Courtney, I know this is one of your favorites.
Yep.
And do you want to elaborate a little bit on why?
It's just bonkers, and that's why I like it so much.
Fair.
It's crazy, and
That's what it should say on the back of the box.
it's just bonkers.
It's just bonkers.
It's banana cakes.
Well, the recent
Wild.
the recent Blu-ray release of this from Kraken Releasing, maybe 10 years ago at this point. Geez, says what is a cyborg with a beak and wings and hook hands? And the answer is, we don't know, but Godzilla has to fight it in this movie. And the HBO...
It hatches out of a Chaos Emerald.
The HBO Max and Criterion Channel descriptions for this movie, because it's part of the Criterion Collection, Spine Number 1000, with the rest of the Showa era Godzilla movies.
So cool.
Spine number 1000?
Yes.
Dang.
Yeah, look, I'll pass it around for you.
No, I mean, that's impressive, though.
But yes, it's in the Criterion Collection. It's on HBO Max, and the description on both of those streaming services says, Godzilla fights a giant black chicken from outer space.
I mean, I dig that. I think that it's absolutely true. And will now forever be what I think of when I think of Gigan is giant black outer space chicken. With the buzzsaw in its belly.
Yes, the buzzsaw tummy.
Buzzsaw tummy is like, that's like, honestly, like, when I was a kid, the hook hands is up there, like, in terms of, like, things that are unsettling about Gigan. But buzzsaw tummy is like a body horror thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you think too hard about it, it's like deeply unsettling. Like, I don't know that there's a way for Gigan to be a good guy.
Yeah, that's why
So
it's so
there's non-canon lore, basically,
Ooh, enlighten us.
around Gigan, that he was some sort of alien bird dinosaur thing.
Okay.
And the Space Hunter and Nebula aliens turned him into a war weapon.
I mean, you kind of love that
vibe.
Yeah.
You get that vibe where it's a senseless...
Yeah.
It's just a senseless killing machine. There's not a lot of, like, nuance to Gigan's performance, you know? Because even with, like, Ghidorah, you get, like, a sense of... I'm talking about a puppet. But, like, you get some... But, I mean, that's the beauty of these. Is, like, because you do get a sense of, like... Of emotion and, like, there's narrative there. And, like, there's that one moment where something bad happens and, like, Gigan chuckles.
And he slaps 5 with the...
He's straight up
Twice!
So great.
I mean, it really feels like when they run away at the end of the movie, that Gigan's about to go and stare in a mirror for like 20 minutes and be like, what have I become?
So,
like, is what I'm doing actually okay?
in both of
We've been defeated for the first time.
In both of Gigan's Showa era appearances, he runs away before the fight is over. which is
He doesn't want to be there.
well,
Yeah.
he is, and once the control is broken, when the Godzilla tower explodes, that's something we'll have to put a button in and come back to. He's done. Like, I should not be here. I should not be.
Oh god.
I'm a monster.
Is the Winter Soldier just Gigan?
Yeah.
That would make me like the Winter
Sans
Soldier.
Buzz Sawbelly.
That would make me like the Winter Soldier a lot more. Because that movie is boring as hell.
False.
And Bucky is not an interesting character.
False.
But speaking of the characterizations of the monsters and how that's achieved, I wanted to bring up that this was the last time Haruo Nakajima played Godzilla.
I saw that in my research.
And he played Godzilla since 1954, with one exception, and he's still in the suit in that movie for a couple of shots. And we have... he was going by the name Kengo Nakayama at the time, but Kenjiro Satsuma. Ken Satsuma is how he usually...
Yeah.
Which is great for me, because
Yeah.
I'm a little buzzed. Kenpachiro Satsuma is Gigan, and he would play Godzilla throughout the Heisei era, starting in 1984
Okay.
to 1995. So he graduates, basically, to Godzilla at the end of this series. And he was also Hedorah in the previous movie, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, Smog Monster. So they really give them a lot of character. The next 3 Godzilla movies, Godzilla's portrayed by 3 different suit actors, but Nakajima had built so much performance already that they didn't have to do anything special. So I think it's really important to look at Kenpachiro Satsuma's performance as Gigan, especially because that senselessness that you brought up, John, is kind of a hallmark of his Godzilla, too.
Interesting.
In the Heisei era, Godzilla is kind of a more force of nature.
More animal than...
Yeah, more animal than super cool.
Because this is... I mean, I feel like of the Godzilla movies that I've seen, this is like Godzilla is most like anthropomorphic. There's, I mean, granted, I haven't seen them all, but I think there's a lot of very, recognizably human physicalization going on in terms of this. Things that would be...
Like when he slaps his face when he sees the Godzilla tower?
Yes. Yes, or when he signals for the tag team maneuver finishers.
Oh, when they're strategizing.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's lots of things. It's incredibly even just and I have a note in my notes about how, and I think I said this last time I was on the podcast, but how much these kaiju fights mirror the beats of professional wrestling, and again you see that in this one super hard, and the physicality, I'm going to use some wrestling lingo, but the way Godzilla takes bumps in this movie is great. Yeah. And everybody really in this movie is really selling the physicality of the combat, and even when it's a rotoscoped eye laser or whatever,
they sell the hit.
You sell the hit, and they sell the hit well, and it's interesting too now knowing that the guy playing Gigan graduated up to Godzilla, because what a professional wrestling style sort of thing, because of course the young heel takes the place of the aging baby face to
the Undertaker can't undertake forever.
Yeah, exactly, man.
And here's the other beautiful thing about that is Godzilla had his own heel face turn. 10 years before this.
Absolutely.
And the professional wrestling thing is dead on. Haruo Nakajima, again, he choreographed the fights. And he looked at 2 things to do that. He looked at actual animals fighting, like bears or lions.
Right.
And he looked at professional wrestling. So he was which professional wrestling is huge in Japan.
Yes.
Especially like luchador style.
Yeah.
There's actually a Japanese luchador modeled after Ultraman.
I love that.
It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But he's looking at these things and combining them. So he choreographed the fights completely. So he's saying, okay, well, we know Godzilla and Anguirus have to come in as the underdogs, even if they're the defending champs or whatever. We have to establish our bad guys as
the space monsters.
Yes. And we have to make this a threat. Like, is Godzilla going to lose the title?
Right.
And he has to pull it out.
Right.
And there's a point in the fight which a lot of people I talk to about these movies who try to take a more academic bent at them say that the fights kind of bore them.
No, totally.
Which you have to become 7 when you watch them.
100%. No, I mean, well, it's the same way that, like, I mean, because there is ways that you can look at the sort of narratives and politics of, like, professional wrestling. But you also, at some point, have to turn off the, like, postmodern critique brain and meet the thing at its level, where it's at. The interesting thing for me is that the turning point in the big sort of climactic battle is when Gigan like drives that hook into Godzilla's head pretty much like 4 or 5 times, which is like the classic maneuver. Like if you want to really show that the bad guy is tough and strong and powerful, and then like you have this like turning moment, like, oh, you've made me bleed my own blood sort of moment for the good guy. And like that's like, and it was one of those things that I remembered, like that's one of like the distinctive like key like core memories for me in this movie is seeing Godzilla bleed.
And it's the first time he bleeds in the entire franchise.
It completely caught me off guard. Like I hadn't seen anything like that in any of these movies before. And so when Gigan like, you know, swoops in and just like hooks him across the top of the arm or whatever, or maybe
the shoulder.
Yeah. And it's just like a fountain of blood. I was like, oh my god, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
And then not only... So Gigan basically... Godzilla's already unconscious, more or less, from the Godzilla Tower. Which, again, we're going to come back to. And Gigan, like, pops his head open like a can opener.
Yep.
Then throws him at Ghidorah's feet, and they fling him into the tower. And somehow Godzilla gets a second wind after that.
He hulks up.
Yeah, and he, I think the fight structure in these last 5 Showa era Godzilla movies is much more important than it has been in the previous Showa Godzilla movies, because just the way the stories are structured now, the last 15 to 20 minutes or so of these movies is dedicated almost completely to the monster fight. So you have to follow the beats of it to stay engaged with the story.
Right.
And it's like you said, engaging with it on its own level.
Right.
And so I think if you can't turn off your analytical brain, which is how I am a lot of times.
No, totally. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you have to look at it in these terms. It's an operetta.
Right. It's dance.
It's a 3-act structure.
Right. And
one of the beautiful things I think about this fight in particular, and I think it carries through to the rest of these movies in this era of filmmaking, is there's a point where Godzilla and Anguirus have already won. But they take a victory lap, basically. And in this case, it's Godzilla flinging Ghidorah over his shoulder 3 times.
Yeah.
Well, and just like holding Ghidorah by the necks and letting arugula or whatever slam its back into like 6 times.
Yeah.
It's just relentless. Like I think that's maybe a little overkill, but it's like
it was like at least 4.
celebratory,
Yeah.
right? It's like the fun celebratory thing, like the heroes have won, and like they're
it's-
getting their like last couple of swings in.
Like,
It's what Stone Cold Steve Austin would do.
100%.
Like bloody face, and he's like just gonna stun someone 4 times in a row, and then smash 2 beer cans
Right.
together and drink like an 1/8 of each can. Like, sorry, I keep bringing it back to wrestling.
No,
but like
I mean,
that final fight
I
is
think it's
like,
a great analogy.
it's perfectly appropriate.
yeah, the beats feel like very much like that.
Well, and I mean, like, Ghidorah's basically waiting to be tagged in for a third of the fight.
100%.
I love this one so much, and I love the combat in it. We've been saying we're going to get back to the Godzilla Tower. Let's talk about the Godzilla Tower.
Beautiful.
What a fun thing. My analytical brain kept trying to go back and forth on like Children's World, like as a whole.
The World Children's Land.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
see, it was Children's World in the subs that I had.
Well, yeah, it was. The way they said it in English had it as World Children's Land, and then when they showed the sign when that scene transitions, it still says World's Children's Land in the subtitles.
That's incredible, and I wish that I had that
yeah.
as my.
I mean,
like,
either way, it's the lamest name for a theme park I've ever seen in my life.
well, and like, here's the thing.
It is
Here's
very
our-
much so like, here is your human amusement park.
Here's your human amusement park. We have a Godzilla Tower.
Right.
We have a library.
Right.
We have a cafeteria. We have a train station. Children have fun.
Play in the street, kids.
At least that's what they said they had when I was watching it.
That's what they said they had.
But like, it's like, and then during the final fight, I'm like, oh no, the library. But yeah, no, I mean, and then to have this like monument to Godzilla, that's also a weapon against Godzilla,
Beautiful.
and then to employ like a struggling artist who designs monsters.
Yeah.
Oh my
To
god.
come work, like, so I have all these notes like trying to put together some grand like thesis about like, is this trying to say something about the commodification of art?
Okay.
I'm like, no, it's just not about pollution.
No.
Okay, go ahead. Hit me.
The screenplay was written by my good friend who's dead and I've never met, Shinichi Sekizawa.
Okay.
And he was about 2 things. Having fun and telling you exactly what he thought. He wrote Mothra, which is, in my opinion, one of the cleverest bits of satire on commercialism I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
He wrote King Kong vs. Godzilla, which is also a very clever satire. He was very tired at this point. So I think that was his core idea.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, I mean, you have this theme park devoted to monsters run by cockroaches that is also actually designed to destroy the entire Earth
Right.
so that the cockroaches can run it using a weapon that is basically just a toy version of the monsters. And then they also just, like, use media transmitted over the waves
and, like,
to
what
some of the monsters. Like, there's all that sort of, like, all that's there.
Yeah.
And I just now put it together. Thanks, White Claw.
No, the societal commentary is on point with this. Maybe even a little too on the nose at some points. But
Love that,
when
though.
100%. But like when you consider it all together, it's very fun. I love that.
Courtney, what were you saying?
Yes.
I was looking to see when Disney World was built
Because very close
it
to
felt
that.
very reactive to that, and it was a year
And also,
before.
like, I mean, like Tokyo. Oh, was it a year before? Because there was also like the
The
Disneyland.
Osaka World Fair was in 1970.
Oh yeah.
Because
that
like
was a
the
huge-
Tokyo Disney
Yeah.
opened up
I'm not
80s
sure.
though. I think.
I don't know anything about Disney.
Let's see.
My mom does.
Disney
I could call her.
World.
Call her right. What time is it in Colorado? 11?
Yeah, about 11.
Disney World was October 1971.
Oh yeah, that's like perfect.
Yeah.
you have like a Osaka World Fair.
Was in 1970, which that was a huge influence on so many things in this genre.
Tokyo Disney, it was 1983.
Oh, okay. So later.
Much later. But there's definitely... So one thing that's very interesting, now that we're bringing up Disney World and the theme park, the sinister theme park aspect, the Japanese film industry and most of their economy was collapsing at this point in the 70s. Okay. They were in extreme late-stage capitalism. And Toho, the studio that made the Godzilla movies, they would do something called the Champion Festival, where they would program a whole day of movies and cartoons for kids. And the main attraction since like 1969 at the Champion Festival was a new Godzilla movie, basically. And by this point, because the film studios were in such dire straits financially, they could not afford to make a main feature for all 3 Champion Film Festivals every year. Because they had one for every break school kids had.
Right.
So they had a spring break one, they had a winter break one, and a summer break one. So they were having to fill out the program with licensed Disney movies.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I feel like, and they were putting the Godzilla movies in the spring break one because that was the strongest one. They wanted their product up front, but they were still having to fill out the summer and winter ones.
Interesting.
With the Disney movies they were in. So, I wonder, now that we've, tied those things together, is this some sort of dig by Sekizawa at Disney?
Well, I can't say no, but I can't say yes either. But I think there's definitely I think you can make a strong argument about commodification of art and like casting the sort of lead villains in this as cockroaches.
Yeah.
And cockroaches that are looking to utilize a children's theme park to create apocalyptic settings so that their species can thrive on the planet. Through a 2022 lens is a wonderful critique of capitalism, but also just the idea of if you're a screenwriter, the sort of the ways that capitalism affects your craft. And then you just have a 30-foot tall Godzilla that has laser eyes.
And I do
50 meter tall.
Sort of love the idea that it could be a commentary on Disney. It promises peace, right? In this.
The idea of eternal peace.
The idea of something that it sells that everyone wants is peace. Disney oversells its parks, and then it turns out to be just basically an average sort of cityscape, but geared towards children. And there's it's really just Disney overselling the promise of hey, come in, you and your family will have this great time. But really, all it is an overpopulated sidewalk.
I kind of like Disneyland though.
I have never been, and
don't get me wrong. There are certainly things that I'd love to go and do. It doesn't I'll die before I get to go see Galaxy's Edge, unfortunately. But I'd love to go and see some of that stuff. But it's the idea that Disney overpromises and underdelivers. In my opinion, as far as the potential commentary on this, especially in the 70s, where It's a Small World After All was their most popular ride. Cool.
Well, here's the thing. I totally get where Austin's coming from. I don't necessarily agree. I think Disney's too scarily good at what they do.
I think so now, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I think even back then, what they would do is they'd come into World's Fairs and literally kick the poop out of people and then turn that into a ride at Disneyland. And it was always a technological marvel. Because Small World After All, that's the I believe the birth of audio animatronics, which was revolutionary. It's robotics.
Right.
The thing that's scary about Disney, if you want to get deep into tinfoil hat territory, is that you have a dude that has an immense amount of influence on culture, vast technological sort of tools at his disposal and desire to have absolute control over the sensory experience of his audience in the very same way that like Wagner did.
Of course.
And then also you take this dude and he kind of is like, well, the efficiency of Germany in the 1930s is really good. It's simultaneously the thing that I admire about like a ride at like Disneyland or Disney World, where you have this like sort of totalitarian control over space to create a really immersive experience. But like that also is like a terrifying power,
Right?
Because the CIA also wields that in places like Abu Ghraib.
Well, you know, there, like they say, there is no ethical consumption
Under capitalism.
And I mean, by I bought the Blu-rays of this from Criterion, which is owned in part by Warner Brothers, which has just merged with Discovery and destroyed thousands of people's careers.
Yep.
You know, there's, you know, we streamed it on YouTube, which is owned by Google.
Yeah.
Which is far too powerful.
Of course.
I have the DVD that we actually watched it on. Was manufactured by Sony, who also owns the copyright to the Blu-ray medium. They own the copyright to a medium.
Yeah.
Let's get some final thoughts before we move into the game show, because we have a game show.
Oh, okay, great. I just briefly want to talk about the B plot really quick, because this is two different movies.
Oh yeah.
Like you have this like weird Inspector Gadget style, like cloak and dagger sort of thing, where it's just like, yeah, we're nefarious and evil, but please bumble around our giant Godzilla statue as much as you want.
Yes.
Never mind that weird red wire trying to poke you in the eyeball and then suddenly pulling you against the door.
What are you doing here? I thought you lived here. I don't.
I don't. I'm just picking up this lighter. Don't mind me.
Jonathan and Nancy from Stranger Things.
100%.
And Argyle.
But yeah, just like fall through every door that happens to open up. Like just like do all the cool stuff. But it's like the thing is like they're all, the characterizations are broad enough that they're immediately recognizable, which is just like again like vaudeville wrestling, like all of it. And so like immediately you're like, oh, I get this dude.
Yeah.
He's got a goatee and a headband. He likes corn.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's Godzilla.
Oh,
Like just looks like Argyle.
The banana.
The
bananas and background check scene.
Yes, sir.
I was just like, they just needed some business. They just needed some business to like have something so they're not just standing in a circle talking about background checks.
Right.
And Jude's like, I got some bananas, bro.
The director of this movie, Jun Fukuda, he was an action director primarily, and he did a series called Young Guy, which is that was what made him famous in the mid-'60s, was the Young Guy movies, and they were very much like wink and nod James Bond kind of thing.
You feel that influence super hard here, down to like the uniforms, like the orange. And like the suits,
it's like the
and that little
orange
laser
pink.
pistol, whatever things.
That's part
Power drill gun.
Oh god, the rotating chair of the chairman.
Like
I would swear so many times talking about that chair.
it was legit. I screamed. Like we were sitting in this living room, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Like
this chair!"
when he turned around, and then like Inspector Gadget Lupin the Third like just comes around the corner like, I'm still talking to you. I have one more question.
Does a Columbo. Just one more thing.
Just one more thing.
Well, and I love like the first time he turns around, it doesn't seem like he's done it necessarily. It seems like the chair kind of did it for him, and then he totally like grabs a little like lever thing that turns the chair around for him the second time. Gosh, the chair was one of my favorite parts of this movie.
This is a world children's land. Where are the children?
We haven't made those yet. I do want to hit just a couple of my favorite things.
Go right
in this
ahead.
movie.
That's what this section is for.
My favorite things in this movie, in no particular order, are the Stranger Things equivalent cast. Unbelievable, like Uncanny Valley sort of.
Yeah.
Just like amazing. the scene where they use a balloon to grapple down the Godzilla statue.
Okay, they do fasten the rope to the tower.
Oh, well, good thing.
The balloon takes the rope up. It's a classic mountain climbing technique. I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought it was ridiculous in and of itself, but then they decided to include the shots of them all sliding down the rope, and it's just toys, just like tied around,
like literally Legos,
like straight out. Like, hey, these are my son's GI Joes. They're just gonna slide down this rope real fast.
Real American hero.
Right. The dubbed version has two amazing things in it, which is Justin Roiland-esque dubbing over Godzilla and Angra's.
Come on!
Right. Like, the speaking between those two characters, which Robert then pointed out to me is supposed to be telepathy, which is hilarious to me when they then play a tape with audio on it to tell them, like, oh, we need to go check out what's going on. Very inconsistent. Didn't love that. Loved the photograph when the woman in the dude's home that they go to like talk to him, but he's been dead for a year.
Yeah.
Says, this is the only photograph I have, and she has two photographs of him. That was
in the
consistent
subtitle as
between
well.
both movies.
Yeah.
Whether it was dubbed or subbed, love that so much. And I think the last thing is the English dub, instead of referring to one of the artist's monsters as Mamagon, refers to... So in this scene, it's the artist character talking to the female character that has a black belt, his girlfriend, who has the black belt, and calls her, in the English dub, a hard bitch.
Yep.
But the subtitle and what he is supposed to refer to her as is Mamagon. And this is before Mamagon, like his drawing of Mamagon is showed off. So I was
She
like...
doesn't know what Mamagon is.
Yeah, It's one of those things that I was like, so do you just refer, like... I didn't understand also, like, why this cartoonist is making up monsters in a world that monsters exist in, and, like...
Because,
like, would you just, like, yell at that monster and be like, oh no, everybody, it's the hard bitch! Like, all of that stuff. Those are some of my favorite things that happened in this movie, aside from, like, the fun fights and the miniatures and all of that. I thought all of that was wonderful. But I think that those are some of my favorite things.
I do need to tell you, monsters are just cool, and animals are just cool. Like, we make up animals all the time.
No, of course. It was just one of those things that he couldn't even come up with a cool monster. It was the monster of
that's good.
super strict mothers.
Yeah.
And I think that's the joke.
No, of course.
And also, they have to brand it. They have to be able to copyright
Right.
it.
And it's hard to copyright Godzilla, since, he's obviously stomping around on Monster Island or whatever. Had a fun cameo by Mothra, all that fun stuff. Super fun.
I have one last thing I want to point out really quick that we haven't talked about. I just love that they go to like the street carnival guy before they blow up Godzilla's head to get like caricature portraits of them done put in front of like the ice cream truck branded boxes of TNT.
I had such a problem with that.
So a couple things.
Okay.
Remember, our main character
is a cartoonist. Idiot, John. John, you idiot.
No, like, that's not the issue I took with that. The issue is, we're gonna blow this building up. Excuse me. We're gonna blow this building up.
I'm just gonna bleep it.
Okay.
It's gonna be fun.
We're gonna blow this building up, and we're gonna put up this drawing of us so that hopefully someone sees it and it looks real cool before they die.
They'll be like, oh man, that guy's a good artist.
Oh, look, they're putting their guns up. Boom.
What I think is funny, I've played this conversation out in my head a couple times because I've seen this movie like literally 100 times maybe. I always imagine him saying, and I'll draw a life-size marker sketch of all of us with guns so that they'll shoot and blow up the dynamite.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that sounds good.
Like patting him on the head the whole time.
and then he finishes it and goes, okay, I just need to color it. And they're like, we don't have time.
You gotta blow this head up now.
I think the headcanon that I've developed as you were telling us this just now, Robert, is definitely that he's actually been working on this piece for days. Like, in my head, this movie takes course over the course of like a month.
He just thinks it's
and
cool.
he's just been like, I love drawing me and my buddies.
Me and my revolutionary buddies
Right.
fighting the children.
And he's like, don't worry, guys. I know how we'll get them to blow up the TNT. Here's a drawing of all of us.
And we were joking about where did they get all that TNT labeled like that? Because why would the military have it labeled like that? And we decided there has to be an Alamo fireworks just somewhere.
Yes, that. And then also, I'm so sorry, I keep thinking of things. I love the bit where they go to like the general or whatever, and they're like space cockroaches, man. He's like, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you think we can do?
We're really busy fighting off these monsters.
We already have maser beams.
Oh, radar. What? Is that a common thing in these movies?
Yes, maser beams are...
Okay, great.
Okay, yeah.
I needed to know if there was lore, like deep
maser beams
radar dish laser beam lore.
Maser beams are first introduced in 1966's War of the Gargantuas.
Okay.
And they are just a staple throughout.
Because I've seen them in other ones, and
Yes.
like it struck me during this movie.
It's not a laser though. It's lightning in the form of a laser.
Well, and it's interesting. Masers exist. They are
Do they come out of a radar dish?
kind of
Weird.
So they're it's like a light bulb. You can look it up.
Okay, I'm googling it right now.
It's
I'm
like a light
excited
bulb,
about this.
and it turns on, and it has a dish or some sort of backing, and it creates an not quite an EMP, but something similar to an EMP, and it condenses it into a lightning bolt, basically.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's a real technology. It has like absolutely zero practical uses, and as a weapon of war, it would be really crummy.
Yeah, but it looks cool in a
But
kaiju
it
movie.
looks cool
Yeah.
in a monster movie. So, with that,
Oh yeah, sorry.
we are going to transition to our game show, which this time is called Tummy Trouble.
I'm gonna open my White Claw now. There we go.
And we'll be right back.
From beyond the stars come the most fearsome monsters in the galaxy. Only Godzilla stands in their way in Godzilla on Monster Island. Is even Godzilla strong enough to defeat the invaders? Matching unbelievable strength. Exchanging incredible death-dealing rays. Don't miss Godzilla on Monster Island. Rated G.
Welcome back to Record All Monsters. We are here with Austin, John, and Courtney, and me, Robert, your host. And we watched Godzilla vs. Gigan. And we need to talk real quick before we get into today's game, Tummy Trouble, about the names of the monsters. First of all, this is probably the first dub where we get the correct pronunciation of Godzilla's name, which is Godzilla.
Oh no!
And
no!
Godzilla, which we also heard a couple times, is also acceptable, but Godzilla is
Oh no!
the best one.
I love Godzilla so much.
That's closest to the original Japanese.
Well, and like you said earlier, like Godzilla is truly a transcendent way to think about pronouncing that name.
Godzilla is Galaxy Brain.
Yeah, okay.
But Godzilla is that one with the universe.
What if you called him Godzilla?
No.
Oh, dang! Okay, sorry.
It's too far.
Too far. I took it a bridge too far.
And Austin had some trouble remembering the names of the other
I still
monsters.
genuinely have a hard time remembering them. I know that I saw them. The White Claws aren't helping. But I called. Huh?
What are the monsters you do know? What do you remember from the movie?
Well, no. It's not necessarily that. It's just their names. This to me was Gary Gygax.
Okay, so that's Gigan.
Yeah, Gigan was Gary Gygax.
Not a visual medium.
Right,
not on
of
Twitch.
course.
Damn video game streamers.
So there was Arugula, who is like Anguirus or something like that.
Yes.
And then King Jeffrey.
So
First of his name.
so King Ghidorah, Austin had 3 names that he went alternated through, which were King Jeffrey, King Gregory, and King Gideon.
Gideon was the other one. Yeah.
Gideon.
And then, like, I'd come up with these three, like, again, completely unintentionally, genuinely having a hard time remembering. Like, Gigan I could remember, but Gary Gygax came to mind, so just called it that. The other two I had a genuinely hard time remembering. And then we heard the first mention of Godzilla, and I lost my mind. And then it wasn't more than 10 minutes later that we heard Godzilla. which I was just like, I'm the king of this right now. As the movie was starting, we mentioned the, like, not to date this podcast or anything, but right now the Korn song is a big deal on TikTok. Not the band Korn, obviously.
This is coming out on Friday, so it will still be hopefully top.
Well, anyone in
Korn
the future.
Talk is a thing.
Right. Korn Talk. I mentioned earlier, we were eating some barbecue while we were beginning the movie, and I just, like, repeated a lyric from the song, which is Korn is, it's the most beautiful thing in the world, or whatever. And then not 20 minutes later, there is
the pistol.
Godzilla Argyle. Godzilla Argyle with the corn cob. I was like, I'm just on my game right now. Like, this is my movie.
I almost wrote, it's cone. In my notes.
I can't imagine a more beautiful thing.
And with that...
With that brilliant segue, let's move on.
Let me give you all the rundown. Or should it be the rubdown of today's game?
I caramba.
Because you rub your tummy.
Oh, yeah. Because I have tubby trumbles.
Tummy troubles. Today's film features Gigan as the main antagonist monster. Some sort of cyborg with hook hands and a buzzsaw tummy. Gigan isn't the only character in fiction with something special about their belly. In today's game, Tummy Trouble, I will bring up another character with some kind of gut gimmick. And yes, I used a thesaurus for all these different things for stomach. And I will ask you a more or less unrelated yes or no, true or false type trivia question.
Okay.
If you win, we'll give you a gut worm to help you digest things that would ordinarily make your stomach hurt.
I'll pass.
I'll take it.
His name is Walter.
Uh-oh.
If you lose, we'll give you a different gut worm who looks at the things that make your tummy hurt as you eat them and laughs at your pain. You can't hear him, but you know he's there, and that makes it worse somehow.
It's dark.
His name is also Walter, but he spells it weird, with an H after the T. Walter.
Oh, it's like almost German.
He's an absolute madman.
Well, it makes sense given his personality.
Yeah.
Anyway, while Walter and Walter are both very real, we cannot offer you any prizes or penalties until such time as the Texas Supreme Court overturns the decision in State of Texas versus Kelly and Noble Walrus Media, so I wouldn't hold your breath.
I won't.
Are y'all ready to play?
Yes.
Are we taking turns, or are we a team?
What we're doing is I will read the question.
Uh-huh.
You each answer as you see fit.
Okay.
You can each get a point on each question.
Okay.
Love that.
Whoever has the most points at the end wins.
Okay.
Courtney, could you keep track of that?
Yeah.
Because I am drunk.
Gentlemen's agreement. We take turns answering first.
Of course.
Here's a notepad. And John has a pen.
Sweet.
I
A
always
gentleman
have a
as
pen.
always. Question 1. Bender, the cigar-smoking, beer-swilling robot from Matt Groening's Futurama, has a compartment in his stomach where he can keep pretty much anything, and does. The question I have for y'all is the corn plant a type of grass?
You going first or am I?
I'll go first.
You go first.
The corn plant is a type of grass.
John?
I dissent.
Austin gets the point here.
Yeah, I figured.
And I will not elaborate on that further.
A+ on the bringing up corn earlier.
Yeah.
All right.
This was not intended. Like, I wrote...
Just like the Shrek reference in my first episode.
I wrote these questions a month ago.
Corncast.
Question 2.
This is a family show, John.
Destroy all cobs.
Question 2. Tinky Winky was one of the 4 main characters in the unusual and slightly disturbing British children's television show Teletubbies. There was some controversy in the late 90s regarding the Tinks, as I call him, due to his being characterized as male while carrying what looks like a purse, being purple, and having an antenna shaped like a triangle. Jerry Falwell, a normal person, identified him as the pop cultural gay role model for kids. My question to you is, are grizzly bears still extant in California?
I'm going to say no.
I think no also.
You're both correct. Grizzlies were driven from and killed off in the Golden State over 100 years ago. Black bears, also native to the state, have adapted to fill their niche. So, Courtney, what is the score right now?
Austin 2, John 1.
All right. Question 3.
Did you hear that? John won.
Oh, damn it.
Okay, question 3. The Care Bears began as toys made by a greeting card company before spinning off into a TV show. Wikipedia describes their trademark Care Bear stare, where multiple Care Bears project beams from their tummy symbols at the same time to form a light wave of happiness, as their ultimate weapon.
4, 3, 2, 1.
My question to you is the vegetable corn a type of grass?
Like the actual vegetable off the stalk?
Yes.
No. I mean, what an interesting way to phrase that question, because it's not. Are you like, when you include that as a type of grass, are you counting it as the seed of the plant? Is that the grass? Then I'd say yes. But like, if I'm eating yummy corn, I'd say no.
I've asked you the question. You have to answer.
Austin, is that air you're breathing right now?
Of course.
Oh, okay. It was a Matrix reference. It was bad. Don't worry about it. I tried to do a funny.
I didn't catch it.
I tried to do a bit on a podcast.
I did not catch it. That was great.
John, not only am I keeping that in, I'm extending the silence.
Good. So you're saying...
I'm saying no.
No, it's not a grass.
I'm saying no, it's not a grass.
I'm going to also say no, it's not a grass, and I'm even going to go as far as to say it's a flower. I don't think that's right.
I'm not going to hold you to that part, but
That's
you are
fine.
both correct.
Okay, great.
Cool.
The corn vegetable is not a grass, it is a grain.
Oh, yeah.
Once
That's
again,
true.
I will not elaborate further.
Cool.
Because that's... When you play the card game Pit, corn is one of the grains you trade in that. It's for my old heads out there.
Man.
Farm games.
Question.
Do you have dysentery, John?
That's Oregon Trail.
Question 4.
Thank you.
Charlie Brown from the popular Peanuts newspaper comic strip, which ran from 1950 to 2000, has a zigzag stripe across his shirt, running over his stomach. Was former Mexican President Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna born on Christmas Day?
Oh, no!
I know the answer to this! I'll go first. The answer's yes.
It's not fair that I grew up in Colorado. I'm going to say yes too because Austin's not. I'm saying no.
Is that your final answer?
I'm hedging my bets right now because Austin's so mad. So I'm going to say no.
All right, John, you are correct.
It's the 24th.
Nope. Santa Anna was born on February 21st
What?
of 1794.
I could have sworn it was Christmas Eve.
I could have too, and that's why I looked it up. And
It's like Texas education
Wild.
system sucks.
February 21st.
Tie game,
What are you
baby.
thinking of then?
I think he might have died on Christmas.
Oh, that's incredibly possible.
I'm not going to look it up right now. Final question.
Okay. It's for all the Marlboros. It's for all the...
Well, 'cause
Austin, it's for all the
Courtney,
Marlboros.
What is the score? Don't you all smoke Camels?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the score, Courtney?
3-2.
Oh. Time.
Well, Austin, are you willing to put it all on the line for this one last
Of course
question?
I am, always.
Oh, no, wait. Yeah, you did tie because you said no. Yeah.
Here's the thing.
I'm sorry. I was drunk.
Don't be... No, it's okay.
And you're the only one of us who hasn't been drinking.
So, Austin,
Yes.
if you win, I will cut off my head.
Oh, okay.
No, this is legally
I'd rather you
binding.
not.
This is podcast law. I know. Like, it's podcast law, maritime law. Like, same thing. Does the flag have yellow fringe
Do you
on
see
it?
this flag here?
Yeah.
It is fringe. We are bound by maritime law. Your common law bull crap won't fly here. Question 5.
Oh my god. Alright, let's go.
Before it was known that Bill Cosby was a terrible person, it was suspected that he was a terrible person. During that time of being suspected of being a terrible person, he starred in and produced a cartoon series called The Adventures of Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. The title character of the series, Fat Albert, was fat.
No.
How many characters did Bill Cosby voice on the series?
No, it's your turn. I answered first last time.
Oh, you did. You took it. Okay.
I was so confident.
So there's like Fat Albert. I'm pretty sure he did Mushmouth. And that's all the Cosby kids that I know.
I'm having a hard time remembering some of their names.
I'm gonna. Here's what. Do you want to do like Price is Right rules? Like closest to without going over?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 3. But I think it's probably 5. Just to like throw it on you. So you're gonna say 5, which is probably the right answer? Or
Can I tell you what I was thinking?
Yeah.
Legitimately, even though I know that it's more, was that it had to have only been 2.
Can I tell you the secret? Like my dark thought right now? It's all of them. Would you be like 9? Sucking 9.
You couldn't come up with it better?
Nope, not in the moment. It's podcasting, baby.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm gonna go 5. I'm gonna go easy 5.
Okay. John, you win. He voiced 3 characters: Fat Albert, Mushmouth, and himself, William.
Oh,
I knew that.
And
Powerful right now.
John, I think you're undefeated on the game show. I'd have to.
I'm so glad I don't have to cut off my head. I'm so relieved.
I'd like to say,
and also kind of sad,
that I have reason to believe that John was shown these questions beforehand, and I do not appreciate.
Do you know why that's not true?
Man, you are every Republican candidate for Congress right now.
Do you know
I grew up in Texas, John.
Do you know why that's not true, Austin? I changed that question on the fly. It was initially another question about corn.
Can we get that just as a bonus?
Yeah.
No points?
Grains, while considered, what was it? Why are the corn plant and the corn vegetable not both either grass or grain?
Because the grain is actually like a symbiotic parasite on the grass part of the plant.
That's a really good guess.
It's literally not true. It's a thing I made up in my brain.
Of course.
That I don't have to cut off today.
Of course. Don't know. Maybe because the grass version of corn has its own reproductive seeds, and the corn is something that is produced as a byproduct.
It's like domesticated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The correct answer is that grains, while considered separate things in terms of food, are in fact the seeds of various types of grasses. Rice, corn, wheat, and quinoa are all grass seeds and therefore grains.
Gotcha.
So grain is always grass seed.
Yeah, always.
Cool.
Yeah. Now I can be a farmer.
Yeah.
You can
I
be
learned
a farmer.
everything. I mean, if not be a farmer, then at least go to farmers only.
Yeah.
And be a respected member of the community.
Yeah. Like,
and
I
if you're
played
there-
Stardew Valley, and I also...
And I know how corn works.
And I know how corn works.
You don't have to be lonely.
Hard bitch.
Give me your socials so I can link them in the...
You can find me online talking mostly about video games. At austinfordgames.com. That's not what I meant to say.
.org.
Just at
I'm gonna link to that.
at Austin Ford Games on everything, on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube. I'm all over the place.
Delete those old Austin.
Yeah,
Ford
no Puffa Horbear anymore. It was too hard for people to spell and remember and say.
I
So
couldn't spell it.
and that's why we changed it. Yeah, that's it.
I don't exist online. I am the night. No, I'm just kidding. You can usually find me online on the tag that's just Johnny Mark, but please don't tell my boss or the city I work for. But yeah, that's me.
All right, and Courtney, what are you doing these days on the internet? Mostly coloring, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can find me at C-Mice Art Stuff if you want to.
And since we're all doing this here, I'm just gonna wrap up. No outro, no regular outro later that I'd normally record, and tell you can find us at recordallmonsterspod@gmail.com if you want to send us a letter or something. You can find us on Instagram at recordallmonsters.pod, on Twitter at monstersrecord, and just type in Record All Monsters Podcast on Facebook if you're still on Facebook. And we actually have we're going to do another 2 in a row. This one's coming out Friday when you're listening to it. Mm-hmm. And next week we're talking with Stephen White, another video game guy you might want to get in contact with, Austin. He does the podcast Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo, which I made sure to get right because
it's a great name.
He complimented me on saying it right when I interviewed him. So I will never not say it right, or else I will cut off my head.
That's interview prep, dog. It's a life skill.
Well, I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And he and I have talked. He's a lovely man. You should all listen to his show. And, but between now and when you hear my conversation with him, remember that monsters are your friends. And I pointed to the microphone like they could see.